Good afternoon or morning to all that have joined this session. As part of the session, we're going to deep dive into the zero-day reality with key insights from OPSWAT's inaugural threat landscape report from this year and the approach in building a zero-day detection pipeline. Today's key speakers covering the content is myself, Jack Medin, Senior Product Manager for MetaDefender Sandbox, and Jose Toma Martinez Gary, our Threat Detection Lead at OPSWAT. At OPSWAT, we strive in protecting the world's critical infrastructure, delivering a range of solutions to combat the ever-evolving threat landscape. I'm now going to hand over to Jose, who will deliver key insights into the OPSWAT Threat Landscape Report from 2025.
Thank you, Jack. Hi, everyone. I'm Jose Tomas. I lead the Sandbox Threat Detection team here at OPSWAT, and I have been with OPSWAT for more than 2 years, making sure our Sandbox stay ahead of the latest threats. So let's dive into what we have learned in the past year. This is actually the first OPSWAT Threat Landscape report, and why start it now? Just because cyber threats move very, very fast, and we realize our customer and us need this actionable intelligence that turns into real protection. This report is powered by our adaptive sandbox, analyzing more than 800,000 scans, and it gives us a key picture of how malware evolves, how campaigns are run, and where first zero-day threats appear. Now, what did we actually see in the last 12 months? Each entry you can see here is a real attack, captured and analyzed by MetaDefender Sandbox. So let's highlight a couple of examples. First, in Q3 2024, we saw command and control traffic hiding inside Google infrastructure and a huge amount of malware campaign starting from a simple Windows archive file. Then later that year, attackers were abusing a zero-day using an intentionally broken Office document that user could easily repair it manually to open the file, but block analysis in automating detection system. Then in 2025, we really want to highlight a stealthy .NET loader hiding a payload inside a bitmap resource that is still in use. And of course, we cannot leave out of this report the infamous click fix technique that we all here might know already. And now it's time for threats within artificial intelligence models. One common vector, for example, is targeting Python pickle files that can store not only data, but also code. Now, what did we actually see in the last 12 months? Each entry you can see here is a real attack captured and analyzed by MetaDefender Sandbox. And let's highlight a couple of samples. First, in Q3 2024, we saw command and control traffic hiding inside Google infrastructure and a huge amount of malware campaign starting from a simple Windows shortcut file. Then, later that year, attackers were abusing a zero-day using an intentionally broken Office document that user could easily repair it manually to open the file, but block analysis in automating detection system. Then in 2025, we really want to highlight a stealthy .NET loader hiding a payload inside a bitmap resource that is still in use. And of course, we cannot leave out of this report the infamous click fix technique that we all here might know already. And now it's time for threats within the artificial intelligence models. One common vector is, for example, targeting Python pickles that can store not only data, but also code. And the threat actors know that and are abusing that capabilities. That's the new territory that we all need to watch. So what does this timeless show? Attackers do not stop. They keep adapting using club service, broken file formats, and tiny loaders, and whatever that works to stay one step ahead of us. but our work here is to frustrate those efforts. Let me ask, are threats just getting more frequent or also more complex? The answer is both. We saw a 13% rise in files submitted, but only 80% increase in static detection like Jara rules. Meanwhile, indicators extracted like hashes of hiding payloads or command and control IP addresses went up by 30%. That means that traditional static rules are falling behind, but our sandbox can still unpack this file and get the key ISEs. And looking at the execution flow, the average number of steps per malicious file jumped from 8 to 18 in just 1 year. So we can say without fear of being wrong that there is a huge rise in multi-stage malware, making detection even harder. And why? Because we are not talking about simple malware anymore. The attack doesn't happen in one go. Instead, it's broken into many tiny steps. A script here, a loader there, each one looking harmless on its own. But only at the very last stage you can see the real malicious payload. And that design keeps threats hidden from traditional defenses. And how it looks like in practice. So most campaigns now chain tiny scripts together. Each step does almost nothing suspicious until the final stage, where the real payload appears. And they use tools like PowerShell, active binaries, and other legitimate admin tools that stay under the radar. And this is why static detection struggles. Our sandbox is built to emulate the full infection chain, reach the final stage in seconds, and deliver the insight security teams need. So what tactics are growing? Evasion is still the number one. Modern malware checks if it is in a sandbox environment before showing its real behavior. And this is exactly where our emulation engines shine, because they can simulate the real environment through the malware into revealing its behavior and let us capture what really matters. Also, still is rising, especially with .NET artifacts, since they are easy to develop and modify. On top of that, many malware developers have been taking leaked .NET malware source code, tweaking it a bit, and selling variants on underground marketplace. And last, invalid code signatures are back, likely due to a stolen certificate and the huge effort from attacker to compromise the supply chain, as we have seen many such cases recently. Put all together, these trends make today's malware more evasive and more organized than ever before. Let's switch to phishing. Here is a question. How long does the average phishing site live? The answer is less than 24 hours. From 500 phishing sites detected daily, only about 80 are still online the next day. And this is why signature-based detection struggles. By the time a signature is received, the site is gone. And according to the OPSWAT telemetry, 1 in 14 files marked safe initially turned out to be malicious. So again, we need faster adaptive defense. Now let's have a look to the MITRE attack, and looking at tactics map what stand out. Packing is still dominant, even if new trick exists, attackers rely on binary obfuscation to break static detection. The challenge here is that packing is also used in legitimate software, so its presence alone doesn't prove a file is malicious. So attackers take advantage of that. Recognize is constant. Malware checks its environment before moving on, not only to spot sandboxes or analysis tool, but also to understand where it is and what's around it, so they can pivot later. Scripting abuse reflects the fileless trend that we have seen in the trend landscape report. Attackers prefer chaining native scripting engines to eventually reach the malicious payload, rather than dropping a big, sophisticated binary at the start of the infection chains. Important to mention that as threats grow, now all behavior map cleanly to MITRE. That hints at new, unconventional tactics emerging in the threat landscape. Let's talk now about packing. For .NET malware, net reactor is still the favorite. We see it everywhere, from simple malware to custom tools. Old packers are fading and new ones are taking over because automated tools can already unpack the older ones without much trouble. So they don't use that. The use of commercial packer is tricky. They are also used in normal software, so its presence alone doesn't prove something suspicious enough to detect, and that's why attackers abuse leak version to pack their payloads. So the history is simple. Attackers keep updating their methods, and packing remain one of their favorite tricks. To close this section, here are some quick stats. 127% increase in multi-stage malware complexity. 1 in 40 files made safe initially turned out malicious. 7.3% of OSINT file reclassified as threat within 24 hours, and a huge surge in phishing late last year. The takeaway here, threats aren't just theoretical, they cause real damage, real cost, and increasing every day. And traditional defenses are not longer enough. That's exactly why we need adaptive approaches. So those were the key highlights. If you want all the details, you can go and find them in the full threat landscape report. And now I will hand it back to Jack to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jose. That was some critical insight delivered as part of our threat landscape report from over the last year. I'm now going to cover the approach in which we at OPSWAT's Meta Defender Sandbox team take when detecting threats identified by Jose and his team. But just before I dive into this, I want to start with a fundamental security paradox. We're told that we need deeper inspection, more advanced analysis to stop zero-day threats, but we're also told that we can't slow down the flow of data or business operations. For years, we've been forced to choose between speed and security. However, today, I'm going to walk through how you can achieve both. If we take a look at traditional antivirus reputation services, they're great at stopping the known threats, the tip of the iceberg, but the greatest risk of any organization lies below the surface in that tiny fraction of 1%. This is where polymorphic malware, weaponized documents, targeted zero-day attacks live. This is 0.1%. It's specifically designed to be invisible to traditional defenses. And as we all know, it only takes one attack to cause catastrophic damage. To combat this, many people turn to sandboxing. This idea is simple: detonate any suspicious file in a safely contained environment. But this on its own created a new problem: the performance bottleneck. When you send every potential or potentially unknown file to a sandbox for deep analysis, you grind productivity to a halt. It's slow, resource intensive, and can lead to challenges with scaling. Now, the solution to this isn't to analyze less, it's to analyze smarter. This is a principle behind a modern threat detection pipeline. Instead of a single choke point, we use a series of intelligent filters. The philosophy is fail fast, analyze deep, and we use low-cost methods to eliminate most threats instantly, reserving our most powerful tool, the sandbox, for the truly unknown. Our pipeline, as can be seen on screen now, consists of 4 layers: threat reputation, dynamic analysis, threat scoring, threat hunting. We're now going to dive deeper into each layer now. Layer 1, this is all about speed. Before we even consider detonation, we check the file against multiple threat intelligence feeds, trying to understand, is a hash known malware? Does it come from a known malicious IP or domain? And it's simple, a near instantaneous check. Before we even consider detonation, we check the file against multiple threat intelligence feeds. Is a hash from a known malware family? Does it come from a malicious IP or domain? And this is simple. Near instantaneous check can filter out up to 99% of common threats without any performance impact. It's an ultimate frontline defense. The few files that do pass layer 1, these are the truly suspicious ones. They land here. Oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. The few files that pass layer 1 are the truly suspicious ones. They land here in layer 2, dynamic analysis. But crucially, not all sandboxes are created equal. Most sandboxes use virtualization, running a full guest operating system. The problem? Modern malware is smart. It can detect the signatures of a virtual environment, tools like VMware or specific hardware drivers, and will simply not execute its malicious payload. It's going to play dead. Meta-Defender Sandbox uses emulation so that we can simulate the CPU and OS components from the ground up. This provides us with deep, granular visibility into every instruction, every API call, every memory request. It's incredibly difficult for malware to detect it's been emulated, so it behaves as it would in a real endpoint, revealing its true intent. Now, harder to evade is a great claim, but as engineers and product leaders, we need proof of this. And for years, there was no standard way to test and compare sandboxes. That's why OPSWAT collaborated with the Anti-Malware Testing Standards Organization. It's a bit of a mouthful, but can be abbreviated to AMSO. And the aim here was to introduce the industry's first ever sandbox evaluation framework. In essence, we didn't just build a product, we helped build the standard to measure it by. And the results speak for themselves. In a recent independent test aligned to the framework, security firm VENAC Security validated Meta-Defender Sandbox's leadership, confirming its detection efficacy and analysis speed against other solutions. Moving back to the pipeline for layer 3, we can see that the analysis, it doesn't end here. It doesn't end with a simple malicious or clean verdict. Layer 3, the threat scoring layer, generates a rich, detailed report with full context, including mappings to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, as well as outlining our in-house threat indicator library that Jose and team develop. This is actionable intelligence SOC teams need. And the intelligence, it then powers layer 4, or threat hunting. The indicators of compromise, the file hashes, the command and control domains, they can all be exported. A single detection here can then be used to proactively hunt for for a threat across the entire organization. This intelligence then powers layer 4 threat hunting, the indicators of compromise, the file hashes, the domains, the command and control infrastructure, all are exported. And a single detection here can then be leveraged to proactively hunt for threats across the entire organization and strengthen every other security tool from firewalls to EDRs. In summary, if organizations are looking to solve the 0.1% problem, you need an intelligent pipeline. We're not just a solution, we're setting the industry standard. I'd also like to compare static detection versus modern threat detection pipeline. Static has long been used to identify threats, but has its limitations, particularly against evasive or unknown malware. As seen now on screen, the blue represents the adaptive sandbox coverage, ranging from 37 to 54%, with the grey covering the complete coverage across the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And it can be noted that a modern pipeline provides broader and deeper coverage across multiple tactics, making it far more effective in detecting threats. Now, how does all of this look in practice? Well, the modern detection pipeline provides layered visibility across the entire attack chain, ensuring that no stage is overlooked. Second, they combine pre-execution static analysis with runtime dynamic analysis. This means that threats are caught, whether they're dormant or actively executing. And finally, this layered approach results in an additional 60% detection coverage in comparison to static detection alone, dramatically reducing the chance of undetected attacks. Now, detection is one part of the equation. The other is disrupting the attackers themselves, making their operations as painful and costly as possible. The pyramid on screen now, this is the MITRE pyramid of pain, and it essentially illustrates where we can maximize that pain. At the bottom, indicators like hash values, IP addresses, trivial to attackers. As we progress up further, we have domain names, and these are pretty simple to rotate, or a network or host artifacts. They're annoying, but they're still manageable. Tools, on the other hand, much harder to replace, and disrupting them makes life far more challenging. However, at the very top are TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. These represent how attackers operate, and forcing them to change these TTPs is extremely disruptive, often touching every aspect of their infrastructure and planning. In summary, a modern threat detection pipeline doesn't just increase visibility and detection coverage across the attack chain. It also enables us to apply pressure where it hurts attackers the most. By combining static and dynamic analysis mapped back to the MITRE tactics, we gain a layered defense and achieve over 60% more coverage. And when we use that intelligence to focus on TTPs and tools, rather than just surface level indicators, we maximize the pain for threat actors and force them to expand into significant resources. And all, don't wait for the next 0 day. Get ready with OPSWAT's Meta Defender Sandbox and unlock the entire threat process and pipeline, each and every layer. Assess your current defenses, benchmark against OPSWAT's telemetry, and get a tailored readiness roadmap. Please see our latest 2 press releases where we supported a financial organization in their journey to advanced threat prevention, as well as the AMSO framework that we discussed earlier within this session. Thank you.